Okay, good.
This has all been going on, so
Yeah.
his life has been.
Right.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. Welcome to Community Comment. On Community Comment today, we have an opportunity, as we typically do the last week of the month, to sit down with the mayor of the city of Beaver Dam. We welcome into the conversation Becky Glewen. Becky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me again, Craig.
And we've sat down a number of times here over the past year or so. This is one of the first opportunities we've had to sit down with other department heads in the city and talk about some of the things that are going on here during this first segment. We're going to be talking about roads.
Yeah, we have so many projects that are just starting and have been ongoing, of course. And so then we just thought it would be a good time to bring in the experts and talk a little bit more about what people are going to be seeing in the community, be prepared for those things.
And we'll be taking phone calls. You can call in with questions about any topic of anything that's going on in the city of Beaver Dam. But we do ask that maybe during this first segment, the questions, if you do have questions about roads, that we try to stick to road topic questions here during this first segment when our guests are the experts on everything that is going on, road related, road construction related here in the city of Beaver Dam. We've got Dan Mulhern here. He is the Department of Public Works Supervisor. Dan, thank you very much for joining me on the program today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Richie Piltz is the Director of Facilities, Engineering, and Stormwater.
Correct.
That's the whole title, isn't it, Richie? Thank you very much for joining us today. So, we'll maybe we could begin here on North Spring Street, because that is the pounding that we are hearing on a daily basis. So maybe we'll just start close to home. What is it that's going on here on North Spring Street? I'm confused. It's like little sections of roadway are being repaired. What is this all about?
This is the fourth phase of 4 to repair the deteriorated joints between the railroad tracks and Wayland Street. This is designed to strengthen those joints and get another 20, 25 years out of this concrete pavement.
And that's the trick, is that it's concrete pavement, right, Richie?
Correct.
You wouldn't necessarily do this with asphalt pavement.
No, we would not.
So do we know when we put this most recent layer of concrete in here at North Spring Street?
I believe this section of North Spring Street was paved in 1987.
87. What's the typical lifespan of a concrete roadway?
Per city ordinance, the lifespan of concrete street is 30 years.
What does that mean per city ordinance? I'm just guessing we don't follow that in every case. When 30 years comes up, I'm guessing we don't just completely reconstruct a roadway.
That's correct. That's pretty much an industry standard, where the useful life of a concrete street is typically 30 years. And once you get beyond the 30 years, the deterioration rate really starts to accelerate, and it becomes structurally insufficient for the traffic.
And it seems like, so you're looking at slabs of concrete that we've got that make up North Spring Street, I guess, if you look at it close enough. You're saying the slab looks fine. It's just the joints where those slabs meet that's the real problem.
Correct, because the joints deteriorated due to water and salt getting in there, and then the freeze-thaw cycles actually bust the concrete away from the joint.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we put cold mix in over the winter, water still is trapped in there and freezes and pops the concrete, and cold mix back out.
Cold mix is what kind of like a stopgap measure, a Band-Aid kind of measure?
Correct.
Yeah. And how will this is the fourth of 4 phases.
Correct.
You said, how will the roadway be then after this 4th phase?
Hopefully, this will get rid of the bumps that you feel every 15 feet going down the roadway.
See, that's the thing. I mean, it's been kind of so
being a much smoother ride for the next 20, 30 years.
So, because for the last 3 years they would do this. I mean, they were doing little sections, and then we'd ride over it and be like, "Oh, that was nice and bumpy. That didn't. It looks good, but it doesn't seem. But it will be smoother as a result of this."
Correct.
Okay.
And the joints will be a lot tighter, and next year we'll begin sealing these new joints to keep the water out.
The longevity again now with this past 30 years, obviously.
Hopefully another 20 to 30 years.
Another 20 to 30 years. What are we doing beyond Wayland Street and et cetera?
Beyond Wayland Street, from Wayland to Industrial Drive, that pavement has numerous cracks in the slabs, So the joint repair system really wouldn't be feasible. That's on our long-range plans to repave that section.
Uh-oh, that sounds expensive.
Yeah, we have a lot of road needs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a long list,
Okay.
but it's constant. I mean,
Right.
you have to keep up on those types of things and try to get ahead of it a little bit anyway, or at least we're trying to do some catch up right now.
Yeah. It seems like South Spring Street is in more need of some type of repaving than that section of North Spring Street that we're talking about.
We are doing some work on South Spring Street this year between Judson Drive and Mill Street, where the section that's been overlaid with asphalt. We are going to surface grind that to get all the bumps out of it and then seal coat it next year to extend the life another 7 to 10 years.
7 to 10 years we'll get out of that. And that's the most troublesome spot of South Spring Street?
Yes.
Okay.
So, in looking at these things, we're talking about prioritization, right? And so exactly, we have to address South Spring before we're going to start talking about further north on North Spring because of just priorities right now where the need is.
Sure.
Cost is prohibitive of, taking care of everything all at once, of course. And so you got to look at where we're going to see the most change, and we need to look at where the worst cases are right now.
And before we talk about some of the other streets here, we did focus a lot on North Spring, but it is one of the major thoroughfares in Beaver Dam. I do want to ask you about the borrowing plan that was put in place, the component for streets that was adopted this year. Aside from the downtown revitalization component, there was a component for streets. If I recall correctly, because of the timing of the borrowing, we weren't really able to get to as many of the street projects as we wanted to with that new borrowing. Is that accurate?
Right. We got kind of a late start. I think most of it is going to be taking place in being able to access those funds. But we did have some projects that were a little bit more involved that take more planning that we had to hold off on.
Okay, so we're just going to keep that money and kind of parlay it into 2019 projects, presumably.
Yep.
And so what then most of what we're doing here in 2018 was already kind of identified in previous 5-year plans and not necessarily part of that new batch of money that came in, but there is some new batch money.
Richie, can you kind of address that a little bit more?
Most of the streets have been in the 5-year CIP, bouncing around year to year. We did include a few more streets this year with the added funds.
Okay. Is it mostly like mill and overlay and repaving as opposed to complete reconstruction?
It's a lot of mill and overlay and pulverizing and repaving of our asphalt streets.
And would that be something, Richie, you would say was badly needed?
Yes, very much so.
All right. But we are still going to, what kind of complete reconstruction are we going to see here in 2019 from the funds that were borrowed for this year that we're kind of talking about right now?
In 2019, we are looking to reconstruct Stone Street from South Spring Street to Radel Court.
Okay.
That will also involve a complete replacement of the water main system and water services, as well as the storm sewer system.
Okay.
The other reconstruction project that is planned for next year is the balance of Roosevelt Drive and Warren Street from Webster Street to Park Avenue.
Okay, and that's the new money
that would be in 2019 budget though.
That would be in 2019
so 2018
budget.
I think was only that we were looking at was that Stone Street.
Okay.
And then did we have another one? We had put Prospect. But,
Prospect Avenue.
Yeah.
But that most likely be delayed till 2019.
Which was, you were hoping to do that with the money from this year, the new money from this year.
Right.
But that looks like it'll be a 2019 thing as well.
Project, yes.
2019. So I did jump ahead a little bit there. We're going to get back to the 2018 projects, not counting North's Spring Street here. But we got a caller hanging on the line, and we do want to go to the phones and say, good afternoon. Welcome to Community Comment.
Becky and all the people that are working with her at Community to, what I would say is just try to explore ways to make Beaver Dam in the area better. Anytime that we make choices and look for things to try and improve, there are going to be people, obviously, that agree with or disagree with the way that certain money is being spent or where we're doing it, allocating it first or second or whatever. But the fact is the simple fact that we're even discussing these things and having debate and discussion means that there is someone behind the scenes, aka Becky, who is trying to do something, who's trying to initiate something to make something better. And I welcome and I'm super excited about people that want to voice their opinion, because that's the way it's supposed to be able to figure out what the community's hopes are and aspirations are and where they want to spend money and how they, what things they think are important. But I just want to thank her for initiating things. I think a lot of times the easiest way for politicians to have a great career is for them to just not do much of anything. And as soon as you start to do something and make it a stand for something and say, hey, let's try something. Let's try to make the world, or in our instance, a community, a better place. Then yeah, you're going to have some people that disagree. But anything, Becky, that you are excited about, particularly when it comes to parks and the area of things, I love dog parks. I think that's something that has been awesome. I've literally, as a dog owner myself, I've gone up there so many times and have invited so many other families that have dogs, and I've literally been able to meet so many people from our community that I didn't have any prior relationship with, and learn about where they work and what they do, and it's just a connection point.
Mhm.
And I know that that's something that that you're very passionate about. So anything that you would like to share that is something that is a passion of yours when it comes to parks and ways in which we can spend money as a community to connect to one another, because I think that's a huge element as human beings to just have a great experience in a community is to have community. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Thanks for calling, Hans.
I appreciate that that phone call. And yeah, with the new dog park, as the owner of a dog who does not get along well with other dogs, I think it's great that the new dog park is open, because now everybody goes there and nobody's at the old dog park. So we're able to enjoy the old dog park, which is wonderful as well. A lot of stuff for John Newman to mow. It seems like
it's a big job.
We'll have to have
absolutely.
we'll have to have John on the program one of these
yeah.
days and give him a pat on the back for all the hard work that he does over there.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of talking about streets. One of the bigger things that you're doing is North Spring Street, but it's by far not the only thing that's going on in the city of Beaver Dam. What is the next biggest project that you would say?
Well, I would say the biggest project this year is also on North Spring Street, from Maple Avenue to Mackey Street, by the post office and the middle school. That is being administered through the DOT. That is on schedule. They'll begin paving here shortly, and it's scheduled to be open by the time school starts.
It will be open by the time school starts. Maybe some landscaping still needs to
just some landscaping and work off on the sides of the street.
All right, very good. What was the total price tag on that project?
The total price tag was $1,466,000.
And that was something that the cost was bore completely by Beaver Dam, was split with the state. How did that work?
The city of Beaver Dam applied for, and we obtained what's called an STP urban grant. It's a surface transportation grant through the DOT. The city was awarded $742,000. And there are some costs associated with the water and wastewater utilities that counts for another $400,000. So roughly $400,000 is from the city's CIP.
Okay, all right. Which is really kind of a small amount when you're talking about a major street reconstruction.
Correct.
And yes, Mayor.
Well, I was just going to say, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of those grants for a lot of the streets. So when you look at and you consider from Maple up to what's the other street?
Mackey.
To Mackey. That's not a huge long distance.
No.
And that price tag on there, it's huge. And so you can understand why communities are struggling to figure out how to do the repairs on these types of projects, because just that example itself, and fortunately we have the DOT help on this one. But I know when we're talking about roads, I'm always asking Richie, what kind of state funds are there for this road, or we're always checking, and it's not real often that that's available. So it affects us in that way. So we're always looking at those things.
And I think one of the things that people maybe don't necessarily realize or give pause to, I didn't really think about it until I became a news reporter and had to kind of cover what you guys do, that there are different levels of street repair,
Mhm.
and there are, with those different levels, there are way different price tags when it comes to doing that. Can you just take maybe a moment, you guys, to talk about, I mean, pulving and repaver, you know, the different types of repair that one can do to a street?
Different types of repair. One of the types that the city has been doing over a number of years has been the mill and overlay
Mm-hmm.
of asphalt. And that typically runs $80 to $90 a foot for a street. If we pulverize the asphalt pavement where there is no concrete pavement underneath the asphalt, that typically runs $100 to $100 a foot. But when you get to reconstruction of a street, depending on how wide the street is, if bike lanes are included, that could be anywhere from $350 a foot up to $500 a foot.
Yeah, you're dealing with all the underground utilities there and everything like that.
Underground utilities would be in addition to that.
Oh, yeah.
That cost. This is just roadway.
That's just the road. So there's reconstruction. Is there reconstruction and complete reconstruction that would somehow incorporate the utilities? Is there a different terminology for that?
No, the reconstruction is the complete reconstruction
Yeah.
of the entire roadway.
Yeah. But then sometimes utilities are part of that as well.
Correct.
And that would be added costs.
Yes.
The STP, the urban grant that was given to the city, $742,000.
Correct.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Usually those grants come along with requirements for bike lanes, as you were mentioning just now.
Yes,
Is there
because
some things with this project we should know?
That program uses federal funds, so the inclusion of sidewalks and bike lanes are mandatory
Mhm.
to be included in the project.
So there will be some bike lanes that are added there?
Yes, the roadway is being changed to have bike lanes on both sides, and then there will be one travel lane on the outside, and then a center left turn lane, similar to Francis Lane out by Walmart.
Okay. And then I assume there will be cul-de-sacs then at Maple and Mackey. Is that how that'll work? You have to look at those with all of the complete reconstruction
You mean
projects?
roundabouts?
Roundabouts. What did I say? Cul-de-sacs.
Cul-de-sacs.
Oh yeah, I did mean round. See, I screwed up my own joke. Thanks, Richie, for
Uh,
covering me on that one.
Yes, that is a requirement to look into roundabouts where there are signalized intersections, and it was determined that there is insufficient room for installation of roundabouts.
Wow. We looked at it.
It's a requirement to look at.
We
yes.
looked at it.
Yes.
And then somebody above, I assume, suggested, maybe recommended that there not be roundabouts.
The DOT does that, yes.
And then the DOT made the decision
Yes.
they're not needed.
No, correct.
And Uncle Bill breathed a little bit easier that day. Well, you know what? I don't think we've covered everything that we wanted. We said we were only going to talk to him for a segment. We got more stuff
We're
to talk
good.
about. We got to take a
Yeah,
break. Should
yeah.
we? So why don't we do that?
Absolutely.
You guys could stick around a little bit. We're not eating into your lunch hour or anything like that. That's Dan Mulhern. He's the DPW supervisor. Richie Piltz is the director of facilities and engineering and stormwater utility. And of course, Beaver Dam Mayor Becky Glewen, our guests here. The phone number, 920-885-4446. Love to kind of limit the questions to road and street repair projects while we've got Richie and Dan here. But, you know, I mean, nobody's going to police that or anything like that. 920-885-4446. Also want to mention that if you're listening to us on AM 1430 WBEB or maybe even streaming us at dailydodge.com, we are video streaming today's program. So feel free to go to the video tab. Give it a minute to come up and you'd be able to watch the program from our new Daily Dodge studios here in beautiful Beaver Dam. We do have to take a break. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. Yeah. And our guests with the City of Beaver Dam, we've got the Mayor, Becky Glewen, along with the Department of Public Works Supervisor Dan Mulhern and Richie Piltz, the Director of Facilities Engineering and Stormwater Utility. Dan, are one of our newest hires in the City of Beaver Dam as the DPW Supervisor. What has it been, 3 months now, Dan?
Just over 3 months.
How's it going so far?
Very well.
Very
well.
well.
To learn.
There is a lot to learn. You're from the area, kind of. You're from neighboring Columbia County.
Yeah, I was born and raised in the city of Portage. Started a little over 20 years ago in Portage and been working my way around, and I'm in Beaver Dam now.
And you like it so far?
Very much.
You made an excellent point. I asked Richie earlier about some of the forms of road repairs that you can have, and Richie mentioned mill and overlay and pulverize and repave and reconstruction. There is one more form of road repair that we didn't mention.
Yeah, we'll be chip sealing some roads. They were crack filled first and spray patched. Now they'll be putting a chip seal coat over top.
So what is that? That's just like oil and gravel, essentially?
Yeah, there's stone chips, emulsion fluid.
Yeah.
It's a water based, but it dries and it gives you more life out of the road. So maintenance.
You said you didn't have the exact number on you. It's less than the $80 to $90 a foot for a mill and overlay, I assume.
Correct. Yes, it is. I don't have the numbers in front of me,
right?
But it is substantially less than the mill and overlay.
If you wanted to guess, Richie,
it's between $20 to $30 a foot.
Oh wow, okay, so that is considerably less. Very good. Now we're talking about the kind of roads that are going to be under construction here, under repair, whatever it may be. Do I have this right? You're going to be doing 12 mill and overlay projects this season alone?
Correct.
Okay. Why don't we first get an idea? So mill and overlay, again, that's where you kind of chip up the surface.
Yes, we grind up the asphalt that has been paved over the original concrete street, and then put a fabric down to retard the cracking from the concrete, pave new 3.5 inches of asphalt, and extend the life 20, 25 years.
20 to 25 years. How is that different than pulverize and repave?
Pulverize and repave is where it's just an asphalt street. There's no concrete pavement under that. And the pulverizing machine pulverizes the asphalt and mixes it into the existing gravel base and makes the base stronger. And then that's regraded and we pave over the top of that.
If you don't have a sturdy base for any of this, you're probably not going to have much luck.
No.
Okay. So tell us about the dozen or so mill and overlay projects that we've got lined up this year.
One of them that's pretty much long awaited would be Haskell Street, from West Street to West Water Street.
It's gotten bumped quite a few times.
Yes, it's have numerous calls on that street. So we also included West Water Street from Haskell Street to West Maple Avenue.
Okay.
Because that has concrete underneath. Another mill and another mill and overlay would be sections of Madison Street, from Chatham Street north to East Mill Street or West Mill Street. That existing mill and overlaid pavement was paved in 2010, and that's showing signs of deterioration. So we're going to mill and overlay portions of that to extend that street life. The rest are pulverize and repave. Henry Street, the one block from South Spring to South Lincoln Avenue, that will complete the entire stretch of Henry Street is being repaved. Keller Boulevard, from Park Avenue to Prospect Avenue, that will be pulverized and repaved. Gould Street from North University Avenue to Wayland Street, that will be pulverized and repaved. And then one block section of Wayland Street that was not seal coated, from Gould Street to Vermont Street. That will also include some underground work, replacing the base material, because we know there are some soft spots under there. And then 3 blocks of South Vida Avenue between Park Avenue and East Mill Street. That will also include some curb and gutter repairs. And then some streets in the Eagles View subdivision that have not received their final lift of asphalt, be a portion of Marsh Trail, Wilderness Way, and Foxview Court. The developer of one of those additions has also set aside money to pay for the final lift of asphalt.
Okay. So, and that's everything, if I'm not mistaken, right, that we're going to see this year?
Correct. And then 3 streets that are going to be seal coated.
What streets are those?
East Burnett Street from McKinley Street to the 151 bridge.
Right.
And then all of Fletcher Road out by the dog park.
Oh, yeah.
And then the north end of DeClark Street from the railroad tracks out to Highway 33.
Okay. What is the total that we're spending on street projects again this year? All of these combined? Do you have that handy?
All these combined, I would say just over $2 million.
Just over $2 million.
Without the state, too,
Yeah.
with the state included in that, right?
So you take the
Right.
state grant out of that, and Beaver Dam is putting up about,
Well,
what was it?
I think is the state above that then, above the?
Oh, that's Beaver Dam's portion would be $2 million.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so about 2.7 million in street repairs with the helps of those grants,
Correct.
minimum.
Yes.
What, for the benefit of our listeners who live on those streets and the benefit of our listeners who may find themselves traveling on any one of those streets that you talked about just now, what is the typical length of closures that we might see resulting from having to do that repair work?
The typical length is 2 to 3 weeks. They'll come in and either mill or pulverize the first day, and they'll do a temporary grading and compaction so that the local residents can still access their driveways during the day. And then when they come back to pave, they'll do a final grading, compaction, and then pave the street all in one day. Typically, it'll remain closed for 24 hours to allow the asphalt to cool, and then opened for local traffic.
$2 million sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah.
Isn't though, is it?
It isn't really,
when it comes
is
to
it?
roads.
No, when it comes to roads, it's very costly, very costly. Interesting. Dan has been very new to the city here, and he's jumped in just both feet and taken things on right from the get-go. And he's doing a really nice job, I think, looking at things that are, trying to improve the quality overall in our community. And I guess of interest to myself and maybe some of the listeners is thinking about, you had a varied background in some other communities, and were they experiencing a lot of the same road problems, and were they tackling it in different ways, or are we kind of looking at it the right way, where we're trying to get a handle on it and get ahead of it a little bit, where maybe our funding was a little bit lower in years past, or what were you seeing, I guess, in some of the communities that you've worked in?
A lot of communities have a 5-year plan or 10-year plan. Of course, the plans don't always come together with the finances. The last community I was at had the Pratt tax, that Premier Resort Area tax, that generated a lot of money. And there was a lot of catching up of the road repairs going on, or
because of that tax.
But communities have to get creative with how to come up with funding to pay for these streets, because there's been a lot of cuts in the recent years.
Yeah, and caps on borrowing.
Right.
And that does require some ingenuity on the parts of, basically you guys.
You have to get creative.
Yeah.
And elected city officials to make the determination of what it is you guys should be doing.
Right.
Correct.
As far as the roads that you've seen, though, and you've worked in Rhinelander, you said you've worked in Portage, and
Arlington.
how would you stack up the roads in those communities to Beaver Dam?
Most communities have poor roads, and you try to make them back to the way these are going to be, the ones we're talking about. Every community has poor roads, and every community has really nice roads. Try to get a mix.
It's pretty comparable. Rhinelander, you said, though, has that extra tax.
Yeah,
so,
with that extra, if you took that extra tax away, I
There
mean, that took several years, to get going, and it's it's going to make things better, and the residents are going to be very appreciative of that tax, but not every community has that.
What do we have to do to get this Pratt tax? What is Premier? What was it?
It was a premier resort area tax. It's
You have to be a tourist community.
A tourist
Okay.
community, having a lot of resorts, which I know the Hodag Festival was just last
Sure.
week or 2 weeks ago up there, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of draws with that, and there's a lot of lakes in that area,
Okay.
resorts.
Sure.
Like Door County also, they can include an extra tax because of it being a tourist area.
And their roads
Yeah.
are a little more high traveled from out of the area, motorists presumably, so they're able to utilize that to put it out. We don't have a Pratt tax.
Nope.
No.
So we're in the same boat as what you're saying, a lot of other communities that are just struggling to figure it out
Correct.
because, yeah, there is no extra just specific road money. Yeah.
All
So-
right. Richie?
I was just going to mention that this year we are actually working on or repaving different types of construction methods, approximately 3 miles of the city streets out of the 52 miles that we are charged with maintaining.
3 miles of 52
Yes.
being done this year. And what is it? They want to say a 20-25 year cycle that you should have in place for all of your streets. Although if concrete is 50 years, maybe that could get bumped a little bit.
It's good. Actually, after 2 years after asphalt, you start to look at crack filling. 10 years with concrete, you look crack filling or slab replacements
Yeah.
to get the full 30 years out of the life of the pavement. So once we do reconstruct a street or repave a street, it's just not forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, then you're looking at a 10 to 15 year life cycle, and everybody knows we can't afford that anymore.
Right. So you got to do the rehab
And really,
in between.
Our concrete streets that we're reconstructing are approaching 75, 80 years old. Asphalt streets that we're looking at are 50, 60 years old.
And
So we are maintaining them beyond their useful life the best we can.
3 is kind of a good number, I would say, probably compared to
Yes.
some other years, maybe.
Yes,
What do-
compared to other years.
What do you
yes.
think we're looking at in 2019 in relation to that over/under of 3?
Probably under 3.
Okay. Not by much?
Not by much.
All right, but in that neighborhood.
There's a couple long streets that are planned for next year.
A couple long streets.
Yes.
In terms of length of the
So
street.
it's not the number, it's just the length will be there.
Okay. There's a term called Pazer rating. A lot of people probably don't know what that is. It's a scale of 1 to 10. If you're a low number, that means basically the street needs to be reconstructed. A 1, you need to close down the street, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. The one that needs to be closed.
2, it's like you better do it.
Yes.
How many 1s and 2s have we got?
We don't have any 1s. We have a few 2s that are on the short list on our 5-year plan.
Are all the 2s on our 5-year plan?
No, they are not.
Okay.
Some of the 2s are like 1 block dead end streets that
Okay.
have maybe 40 vehicles a day.
Okay.
We're trying to get the high traffic streets done, more noticeable streets, and then branch off into the neighborhood streets.
Okay.
I'd say the majority of our asphalt streets are either at the 5 or 6 level, just above average. Concrete streets, 6 to 7.
Okay. All right. So not too bad.
Yep.
But as Dan was saying, every city's got some good ones. Every city's got some bad ones, and
Yes,
it's got to do the best you can with what money you got.
correct.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing everything you can with the money that us taxpayers are able to give to you to whittle out for these street repairs. And this has been great having an opportunity to sit down and chat with you. Do we have to take a break though? As we're a little bit overdue. Dan Mulhern, DPW Supervisor, Richie Piltz, Director of Facilities Engineering and Stormwater. Maybe we'll have you come by one day just talk about stormwater. That seems like a whole other topic.
Yes,
for a different day.
that would be great.
And Dan, welcome aboard. It's been great having this opportunity to chat with you. Beaver Dam Mayor Becky Glewen also here with us. We're going to continue the conversation after the break. All right.
Oops.
And our guest is Beaver Dam Mayor Becky Glewen. Want to thank our previous guests for joining us, Dan Mulhern, Supervisor of DPW and Director of Utilities and Engineering. Richie Peltz had a great conversation about streets just there. And one note that I want to mention that we didn't have a chance to squeeze in during that conversation. Richie just mentioned it on the way out. The Beaver Dam skateboarding park that has been in the works for 300 years, I want to say.
Close to it.
Right around
Feels
there.
like it.
The concrete is going to be poured in the next 3 weeks. It is the same contractor, Zenith Tech of Waukesha, that's doing the North Spring Street project that we were talking about earlier. They pick up stakes over here. They're going to go over to the skateboarding park, and that'll be a done deal.
Exciting, especially with the dog park there, and now the skate park and some activity again over there. Yeah. It's exciting to have that opportunity for kids.
A lot of stuff in the works in the city of Beaver Dam. I've been reporting on housing projects that have been going on. Two big housing projects now.
Two big housing projects, yeah.
But would both of those be in that new TIF number 8?
No,
okay.
Just the latest one that we heard about. I can't think of the name of it. It's the townhouse.
Premier
yeah,
is the company that's doing it.
Apartments.
They're not taking any incentives from the city.
Correct.
So, but they're giving that district $4.5 million minimum of revenue is basically
that's
what
right.
they're, or base, I should say, tax base
right.
of so that's pretty good.
That's very good. And then the other project that we're talking about over in the Elster Woods area, that's behind there. That's $7.5 million, and that's the beginning phase, right? I mean, there's a whole section or back part of that property as well that could be developed for the future.
And that's not in a TIF district.
That is not
either. There was
there were no incentives or anything for that either.
No incentives for that. There was a little bit of a hang up with the fire department talking about access roads and everything. That got cleared up.
Right. Yeah. I believe so. It seems like it anyway. All of those pieces are moving forward. So I think it has to go back to council one more time. There's a developers agreement with this group because of the roads and infrastructure and things with them. And so that still goes to council on Monday night. But that's a single story apartments, so side by sides. And I think we've talked about that before, where I have a number of individuals that have already expressed interest to me as saying, I'm ready to get out of my house and no more yard work. I want to move to something and all on one level. So yeah, that seems like it'll be a popular option. I think once they start, they do nice quality work.
And with that road access that I was referring to, it's my understanding initially there was just one access road to get into that apartment complex, and now there's going to be two. It's a horseshoe-shaped access, as I understand it. So that
right. You can go through and come back out on that same and the same one street coming in, but there's an in and an out in there.
There is an in and an out in there. So those are two major apartment complexes that have been announced. I know one of your efforts had been to attract more development of single-family housing.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah, that's a different beast. That's a little bit more difficult. We're finding, and as I've shared before, that's more difficult in making the numbers work for contractors. Exciting though, Charlie and Nancy, Charlie Hammer, Nancy, and I can't say her last name, but the Hammers have had their property annexed right past the Menards, right next to North Crystal Lake Road there. And so that's 2 40-acre parcels or about, and that's been annexed into the city. And so we are still looking, talking, and hopefully something will happen there. That comes down to, again, we're trying to pull together a little bit better handle of what all of our impact fees are for all of our permitting and things like that, because we are easier to work with in our community in some of those regards, where our permit fees are a lot less than some communities. But yet, what's the gap in order for a company to come in and actually make it work because of infrastructure costs?
Infrastructure costs. That's really what it comes down to, right? Is what portion the city offers for infrastructure costs,
right?
And how much the contractor would have to put in when they want to build a housing complex or something like that. It's my understanding that traditionally we've had kind of high infrastructure costs for contractors in the past. Is there a movement on that? Can we change that? Does that require council action? How do we make that more attractive?
What's more expensive?
How do we get the costs of? Can we contribute more in infrastructure costs on the part of the city
Okay.
to make it more attractive to contractors?
Well, let's because normally in the past, there's a lot of competition and communities have not needed to do that.
Okay.
The developer always pays for all of those costs, and then when you sell the land or sell the house that after it's built, all of those costs get built into the cost of the home. So then the homeowner's actually paying for them. That gets passed on. What's happening now after the 2008 crash, a lot of individuals left the construction workforce, and so there just aren't enough developers and construction companies out there. So there's a lot more competition. And again, at the same time, while Beaver Dam might have better permitting fees and such, our costs to build a road, our costs to put in sewer and water and roads and sidewalks and all cost the same as they do in Madison. Yet Madison can charge a lot more for a home, and then in this area. So that's where the problem comes into play. They have better margins in bigger cities. Right. And out in some of the rural areas and smaller communities, they're having a harder time making those margins. And so cities have not had to look at that in the past, but it is something that we're discussing now, and it's been a different conversation than we've ever had to have because of that difference in the market right now.
In the meantime, we are seeing a lot of development with apartments, and there had been capacity issues with apartments, as it were, in Beaver Dam.
Yeah, and I have spoken just recently to a couple of apartment buildings that had said, we've had openings here, mostly in the, some types of openings in the past, but we're now full, and we're hearing from people still coming to us saying, we can't find anything in the area we're looking, so can we get on a list type of thing. So we know that, again, we're at least we're feeling that that push from the Madison Sun Prairie area is coming out on 151, which we kind of expected and we are looking at. So these new housing developments will again give us opportunity for individuals that already live in our community to free up housing opportunities in the community to move to an apartment, but also that younger individual that's driving in that commute that really when you look at American Family Insurance, it's a big employer over on the east side, right, as you hit Madison. And now with the highway, as easy as it is, I think one thing to remember and kind of think about in marketing our community, it's 30 minutes to get to that, Sun Prairie, east side Madison there. When you have a lot of people that work in that area and that are commuting around to the west side of Madison and fighting traffic and fighting a lot of headache that you would have in the same amount of time, the 30 to 40 minute commute, when you can come this way and you're on a beautiful 151 highway with 4-lane traffic. And so I think we're going to see a little bit of a shift in the way people think also once that people understand that a little bit more and what type of what our community is all about here and the direction that we're moving. And I think that'll be very appealing to individuals.
One of the other efforts that you've undertaken to make the community more attractive is the renewed focus on the downtown and revitalization efforts there. What's the latest? How's everything going?
Well, I think the biggest part is not saying that the city's going to come in here and make all of these changes to the downtown and yay city, that's what the city needs to do and take care of. It was always about what's the partnership that we're creating. And because the city has made initiative into that, into the downtown and saying we're going to take on some of these projects, then you have the private sector that says we see a vision for the downtown as well, and we want to be a part of that. And so they're willing to say, yeah, we want that partnership, and we're willing to take some risk and make what they see as exciting for our community as well. So, with the brewing company and several other projects that come out of that, we just City Council approved us to write for the state CDI grant. Again, that's a state grant, and it's for community development investment, and I think that's the acronym for it, and it's specifically for downtowns. And so really when we wrote the grant for the brewery and attaining that from the state, it was written as saying this, we expect this to be a catalyst project because this is going to start the ball rolling and provide other interest in things. And so we're seeing that now because then we had Now, an interested party say we'd like to open a restaurant, and so could we work with you to partner for this state grant as well? So
Is that UGA you're talking about?
UGA Brewing
Right.
has already received it, but now
then
for
there's a second one.
for the new grant cycle, that's now a new grant cycle starts for 2017 on that same grant. So we are available to, it's available again for us to write for. So yes, so we have an interested group that would like to open a restaurant in the downtown, and could they write the grant and receive, hopefully through the state as well. And so then and we're hoping the state is looking at things a little bit differently now. So that's a grant that the max for a community is $250,000, and it's $1 million and over. And well, so anyway, our projects are a little bit lower. The brewing actually is quite a big undertaking. That's a big financial commitment, but the restaurant, we won't hit that $1 million, $250,000 max, and we didn't either with the brewing. But so what the WEDC is working at is looking more at small communities and how, if we don't max that out with the first grant, we could possibly write for a second one. So just, we might have something available yet to do if there's someone that would approach us and say, could we also, and so that's just how the ball gets rolling.
Oh, so each community gets $250,000 as a maximum.
Has the opportunity. It's not necessarily a given. It's a grant, right?
But that's the maximum that they could.
Correct.
So Beaver Dam would really be capped for the.
I'm pretty sure that's
for the grant cycle of a year.
Correct. For a year.
So a new year could come up and another round of funding.
So
$1
million. So it's up to 25%. It's up to 25%. So let's say you had $1 million project, you could potentially receive $250,000. Now you could also have a $10 million project, but you're gonna receive $250,000. That's the max.
Okay. But if you had a $500,000 project, you might get $125,000 out of that.
The max you could get was $125,000 out of it.
And then there might be some more in the community. And so I paused, or I was kind of thrown off when you said restaurant, because when this was approved by the council, nobody knew anything about what. Were you not supposed to say restaurant, Mayor? Is that is that a slip that came out?
About that. Well,
okay. Well, you're on the record now.
There's a restaurant that's looking to open down there. Yes.
So, okay, breaking news here on AM 1430 WBEV. We just pried some information from the mayor who indicated that a new restaurant may be coming to downtown Beaver Dam.
With this grant opportunity, they receive the grant, everything goes through, and they, next spring, hopefully. So yeah, it would be a restaurant. I already said it, so now we'll officially say that, yes. But I won't give any more information than that.
Elected officials tried to pry this information from you, and obviously I'm such a good interviewer that I was able to accidentally have you say it. I
gave that up freely, yeah.
So, but that's exciting news.
It is.
So now we have a brewery, a microbrewery, that's for sure.
It is a brewery. It's not a microbrewery. It's a brewery.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little different.
What is the difference? I drink beer. I didn't know there was a difference.
Well, they both have beer. The microbrew has a menu, though, of food. The brewery just has brew with maybe snacky things.
Okay. So it won't be a restaurant.
They don't have a menu, right? It will not be a restaurant.
It'll be a brewery.
But they are talking about other possibilities of food. With food truck type of stuff and things like that.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, but it will not be a restaurant with the brewery. So that's a microbrewery.
But it doesn't matter, because it was just announced here on WBEV 5 minutes ago that there's a new restaurant coming to downtown Beaver Dam. Maybe. Where are we at in it? Is it a maybe thing? Is it the grant is being applied for, and either way they're going to open it, or what?
Well, the grant has to be even applied for yet. So we've already had the okay to apply for it. So so now we have most of the paperwork's all ready to go, and so we're trying to get a meeting again with WEDC. We just haven't had that set up yet, so that should happen shortly. And then, but that's a process. It'll take late in the fall probably before we know for sure. That's what it took for the brewery.
So. Remind me again, the city, there's the borrowing cap of $1.6 million, and what did we wind up borrowing this year? Was it 2 point?
I thought no, I think it's 2.8.
2.8.
I think.
So so we're at about $2.8 million, and this is taxpayer money, borrowed money. And what are we at in terms of now private development coming on board here in less than a year, saying, we want to be part of this this effort that that the mayor's put forward?
Well, just specifically in 2018, we've had close to $1 million worth of investment with the brewery. We have an individual that I will say Active Outfitters. They just recently purchased the building next door for remodel and expansion. And some remodel of uppers for apartment buildings on Front Street.
Okay.
And so we have had, I'm sure we're, if not at $1 million, we're very close. Yeah, and that's what it's all about, really. You know, we're looking at a lot of different ways to save costs, which is hugely important, of course. But we've been doing that for 10 years. So new ways to save are some of the new ways that I brought forward on energy. And, you know, and that's been reported in the news here today as well. But so we're looking at new ways on that. If you're talking about the last 10 years, we have cut, and that's what I hear at the state. You know, I attend a mayor's meeting, and when I hear Speaker Voss saying, you know, you can only cut so much, and he is saying that, I take that seriously, and I think, well, you know, I agree. I mean, I think there is only a certain point that you can get to, and I appreciate looking at a budget and making sure. So we're finding new ways, which we're looking at energy, and it's exciting, all the new things coming out of that. But we're also, at the same time, saving costs. We're investing. We have to invest in our community if we expect to stay relevant. It's not even about growing. It's just staying relevant. And of course, we do need some growth. And so we're looking at ways to invest that all of the ways that we're looking at investing are ways that we feel, or that I feel specifically, and council has agreed, is looking at how we're growing then investment from private. And so the downtown is a big part of that. There's a lot of small business down there. It's very important to our community. That was one thing when Uga Brew opened. I started naming off. I was writing down a little speech, you know, that I wanted to give them as a congratulations. And as I was doing that, I was writing down all the businesses downtown that are, and I went, wow, I've got 17 businesses listed, and I've got another couple handful that I'm thinking of. And, you know, so I stopped and I went, well, I can't list them all, otherwise I'm going to miss someone. And I didn't want to offend anyone. But I mean, you just start thinking about it, and you've got Annabelle's and Park Plaza Pizza and the movie theater. That's just on that one little corner. And then you just keep working all the way in that district. So those small businesses are really important to our community. Yeah, so and the Uga Brew is also going to help Stooges Bar, right? And it's also going to help Chili John's, and it's, you know, bringing, again, revitalizing those downtowns, bring business and overall to the community.
In the Uga Brewing Company, I mean, they specifically said that they were doing this because of the downtown revitalization efforts that were coming away. The restaurant that we're hearing about now, have you gotten the same feedback from the, and we don't know who, you haven't revealed unless you want to just announce it right now, who's behind the restaurant. But can we take, have you had that conversation with those individuals? Have they indicated that these downtown revitalization efforts that have been taken in the past year are the reason that they're moving forward with this?
It's a whole lot of things as far, I mean, it's a big part, again, writing for, and the state expects a project like Uga Brew. That's why they got behind it, is saying that's going to be a catalyst project, meaning people see that and go, you know, that's interesting, and we believe that you're headed in the right direction, and there's growth that's going to happen in this area, in this community. And so they want to be a part of it, and so new business starts, right? So that's what I'm talking about and so yeah, you just hope that continues to roll, and with the city being a partner in that, then there's more opportunity to see those changes happen, and certainly we want to incentivize, or just make sure that, you know, the private piece is, we want that to take over in the forefront. And that has really already, but the city's got to be a partner in it.
Boy, I forgot my next. I was hoping you would say who the restaurant owners were there.
You never know. We keep talking. That might happen. No.
As far as the downtown revitalization, some of the money that was borrowed was just meant to spruce things up, to add trees and planters with flowers and benches and things like that. I haven't seen any of those down there yet. When are we going to start to see that investment come to fruition?
Yeah, right. So, well, that's what you talked about with Richie when you said that this, our process for the CIP was late. So there were a couple road projects that required too much planning in order for us to still get those in and done this year. So we have to back off and say, okay, that's a 2019 project. It's funded, but we'll have to hold off. It's the same thing with with that piece of the downtown piece. We put it out for bid. We did get some bids on that piece of it. But they're now, because it was later, they're booked through the summer, which is better. We don't want them coming in and doing it now anyway. You'd rather plant in the fall when it's a little bit cooler. So so that worked out well. So that'll happen this fall once it starts cooling down, and then just what we're saying, we had actually put out for bid for that Ming's corner, the landscape corner, and that did not receive any bids. We had people say, tell us we'd be interested next year, but we're just too booked right now. So that was a part of that too late in the season and getting that process done.
What about benches and planters and that type of thing?
Yep, that's all.
So 2019, we're probably going to see the full thrust of that essentially.
So we'll order the planters and such, but we're not going to plant them in September. That wouldn't make sense. So we'll have those, but the benches will go out. Those will go out this fall once everybody is so busy right now. We'll probably order those late August and then get them out in September or so.
Do you want to do the borrowing and the CIP plan? That's the capital improvements plan that made the $1.6 million borrowing plan turn into 2.7. I forget what it was. 2.8. You want to do that earlier now in the process, as I understand that. So how would that work?
So the CIP process will be, we'll just be looking at that this fall right away, probably September, October. So that we have it done by October. And so then at that point, Richie and others our engineering group we work with as MSA, they'll be able to put plans together for all of those roads and get them out for bid right away at the beginning of the year in January and February. Instead, we were just getting the budget approved in March. And so then to put planning and such together is just way too late.
Okay. Yeah, so do you anticipate then seeking to go over that 1.6 million again and try to capture some more of these revitalization funds that you could direct toward roads and downtown revitalization again?
Right. And so most of the funds are looked at for roads, and I'm identifying right now what needs we have for the downtown. And I will say, we talked a lot about purchase and tear down of a building for that walkthrough.
Yeah, hasn't happened yet, has it?
It hasn't. And so there's still options that group is still considering. But one of the things is this consideration of, that was cut quite a bit, and there's just in order to purchase it and tear down, and then there just weren't enough funds to do all of that.
So that's not going to happen.
Well, it might. It's the process of we're not sure yet. So I'm working with some other individuals, business leaders, and so we're taking a look at what other options there are right now.
So you got kind of a chunk of money that had been set aside for that, 100,000 or so. I want 6 digits.
I think 150.
Okay. That had been set aside for that. That kind of goes back into the mix now.
No, that's still identified.
Still earmarked for building demolition. Correct. Just might be 2019 then that we see that.
Right.
So we got the $1.6 million cap. That's still a self-imposed cap that the Beaver Dam Common Council voluntarily put on themselves in 2010. You exceeded that this year for roads and revitalization. There was an alderman who wasn't really a supporter of any of this, maybe the road side of things, but not the revitalization side. Alderman Ken Anderson, who's floating a resolution in committee. Well, I guess it would be an ordinance change in committee that would see that 1.6 million adjusted for either inflation, the CPI, the expenditure restraint program, a mixture of growth or whatever it may be. What are your thoughts about that?
I think, those are all things that I've suggested, except I had suggested we spend 3 years to try to catch up on a few things, right? And then after year 3, in doing exactly what he's talking about. So, yeah.
So are you still going to push for that 3-year plan then, the continuation of that 3-year plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And there's still plenty of stuff that needs to be done.
There is plenty to be done.
All right.
There always is.
I
think we've got a good direction on where we're going, and exciting again to talk about, I guess, on the savings end of things. Monday night we'll be talking about the 2 solar projects that'll be coming up to council, and looking at that, and you start thinking about new ways and innovation, and a 25-year look at savings from those types of projects, over $800,000 in savings, and that's looking at today's energy standards. So we know that it's even more than that. So again, I think it's really important that while we're still talking about that, yeah, we do need to invest, but we also need to think of new creative ways to also make sure that we're taking care of budgets.
And we're running a story on that today, the operations committee and the work that the solar power stuff that went through the operations committee is going to the full council. The one question I had after I had written that, the $800,000 in savings is talked about. Would that $800,000 in savings only come if the city were to take the option of buying the solar panels after 7 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's in it. Do we get anything in that 7 years? Are there savings that are realized?
Yes.
Okay.
There's about $4,000 a year. So
right.
you'd see, like, in that 7 years, then it was close to $30,000 of savings that can be used towards purchasing it. It's just that's the first that it can be purchased, and then because it's a longer ROI on something like that. So I think it takes 10 years for that to pay back. So through this, after year 6, you have the option then of purchasing it, so that then it only takes 3 years or 3 or 4 to kind of turn that back, so that you're making a profit on it. So certainly when council gets that option after year 6 or 7, they could wait another couple and look at it then. But in the, ultimately, yeah, absolutely, you want to be that should be in the plan, is capturing those savings for ourselves, not giving that to someone else.
Right, because right now our rich philanthropist, who is basically the one that would be, he or she, the one that would be doing it, would obviously collect that money because they're putting the money up in the meantime.
Right. That's right. 7
years, though, would be kind of their buyout time. We just have a few more minutes left. We got a bunch of stuff that we wanted to cover today, but
yeah, I guess the one
what's
bigger,
the next most important thing?
Yeah, so on August 20th, because I don't know that I'll see you before then. Will I?
I don't think so. Not on this program. We'll see each other maybe in meetings or something, but not on this program.
But just to talk about again, overall, and how we're looking at and how we're presenting ourselves to others outside of our community, within our community, outside of our community. There's been a committee that's been looking at our website design as well as branding, and branding means logo and taglines and things that we use. So there was a group of 12 individuals that worked with a marketing company. It's actually Botham Inc. So Sarah Botham is a former Beaver Dam native here, and her brother Wade is still here, and Tim, but she has an amazing marketing company that worked with us, and has worked with that group of 12 individuals to come up with Beaver Dam's new brand. And so that'll be revealed on August 20th and at the Common Council meeting. And then we'll be sharing that afterwards, and there'll be some, if you're on social media and things, there'll be some lead up to that, and just kind of getting some information, and that information will be coming out.
And we're working with you guys. We want to have the camera that's video streaming this program right now. We're hoping to be able to have that there to capture that live as well.
Fantastic.
And it's a logo unveiling that we'll be capturing primarily.
Right, logo tagline. Mm-hmm.
So that means the city of Beaver Dam, which has what, like the Swan Park gazebo and kind of a yellow and blue right now.
Yes.
If I could oversimplify it, that's going away.
That is going away. Be prepared.
What is it being replaced with? Is it a restaurant in the downtown?
Nice try. August 20th, and then you will get the reveal on that. But yeah,
this is the current. I don't think we could zoom in on that. It's very small, but this is the current logo that we're talking. Oh, we can zoom in on it. All right.
Which of course, we absolutely love the gazebo, and it's still a huge part of our community. But yeah, the group that worked with the marketing team tried to identify what's going to define us for the next so many years.
It's kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Changing the logo.
I don't know. Change is not always easy.
Does the council, do elected officials have to approve the logo before it's unveiled, or did they already approve it through the establishment of committees and everything like that?
Yeah, I guess. I'm going to verify that when I get back to the office.
Sure, it'll be fine. I can't imagine. There's a restaurant you could meet in the downtown and talk about that kind of stuff. If you want. So, are there any other things that you're not supposed to tell us that you'd like to tell us on the program today? Is that something that?
Well, I'll leave it at that and just leave you guessing right now. But
okay.
I think I gave you more than I should.
We did cover a lot of ground. I mean, there's always some more stuff that we could talk about. It seems like, but looking at the clock on the wall, it says it's time to go. So maybe we better just wrap it up here. But the 20th of August, look for that big new branding announcement by the city of Beaver Dam. That's the next big thing. When do you think we'll find out more about this restaurant in downtown Beaver Dam?
Well, like I said, we'll have to submit probably we don't have to submit, but we hope to submit by the end of August, and then it takes probably a few months for them to review for all of their processes, and so then hopefully it'll be a positive.
But in the Yuga Brewing Company, that's opening by year's end, isn't it?
It is right now anyway. The schedule I have still confirmed is by the end of the year.
Okay, so by the spring of 2019, we'll be probably looking at new planters, new benches, new trees, new community theater, maybe a new path to that community theater from Front Street, a restaurant on Front Street,
a brewery. I'm not telling you that.
A brewery on South Spring Street, a restaurant. She's not saying if it's on Front Street or not.
Just wait. I'm so excited about the arts community.
That's right. The art center is moving downtown.
Community. We are going to see, some good things happening there. We're just starting conversations about that. I'm very excited about the excitement and momentum behind the arts. I think we'll see some very good things coming in that direction as well. So yeah, we've got some good movement. Right. And then throw in there a new hotel and new housing. And
how much of a done deal is this new hotel?
That does have to be approved yet through council. Yeah,
because there will be incentives, developer incentives
because there is. We had a number of hotels. I worked pretty hard on calling, and I know that our economic development was as well. We had a number of hotel groups come in that were interested, and out of those groups, this group really had the best plan and the least amount of incentives that they were looking for. So, and
they're interested. They're excited about the possibility of being able to provide hotel services in Beaver Dam.
They are.
Mm-hmm. And the new proposed TIF district number 8. When is just real quick? When is that TIF vote going to the council?
And I think they said that's on the 20th as well.
On the 20th as well,
because there has to be a wait period, and then that would take us past the August 6th date. So,
all right, very good. So a lot of change of foot. We'll have an opportunity at the end of August to sit down with you again here and get caught up on everything that's going on. I do want to thank our listeners for the calls that they made today. Again, you can go to dailydodge.com and listen to this conversation or hear it for the first time in audio and video formats. In the meantime, Mayor Glewen, thank you very much for joining me on the program today.
Thank you.
And revealing that the restaurant is coming downtown, even though apparently you weren't supposed to say that. That's going to do it for today's community comment.
I can say that.
You could. I don't know. I'm going to play it up that you weren't supposed to.
I know. That's really good. I liked it. That's good.
Yeah, no,